give you the latest on the general election from Salford.
Sweet in terms of the victory when you look at the national picture, when we have colleagues that have lost their seats tonight.
A mother opens up after the loss of her child due to stillbirth and how she will remember her this Christmas.
And why Christmas tree farmers are urging people to go green over the festive period.
Good afternoon, I'm Damien Pickett.
And I'm Tiki Mudiwa. It's been a busy 24 hours with the general election leaving Labour in control of 3 constituencies, despite the party taking a hammering elsewhere in the country.
But first, breaking news about a police raid that led to the discovery of a meth lab in the heart of the city. Our reporter Oliver Hilton was at the scene.
A man has been arrested after police have uncovered a suspected meth lab in Salford. Police found items associated with the production of methamphetamine. Statement released by Greater Manchester Police says, shortly after 6:20 this morning, Friday the 13th of December, police attended a property on Field Street, Salford, and found a number of items which are suspected to be used in the production of methamphetamine. The police behind me are still at the scene, recovering more items.
Now, a man from Eccles is appealing for donations so he can travel to either Russia or Mexico for vital health treatment.
Lee Barber, who has multiple sclerosis, has even vowed to sell his house to help fund the stem cells transplant, which is currently not available in the UK. Alistair Hancock has this report.
I need this now. You know, I'm gonna get this treatment. Doesn't matter what it costs. If it means selling my house, I'll do that.
A desperate plea for help, Eccles-born Lee Barber was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2014, and walking without crutches can be a challenge. After researching options, the 39-year-old says he will do anything to raise $43,000 so he can travel to either Russia or Mexico, where treatment is available. With the help from family and friends, Lee has also launched an online fundraising page for help to cover the costs.
Hopefully I won't have to sell my house because that's how kind of desperate I'm getting. I need this treatment. If the NHS aren't going to offer me that, then I have to go abroad. So if I go abroad, I have the treatment, it resets my system. It's not guaranteed that it'll work. It's not guaranteed that I'll be walking confidently again or anything like that. But I'd rather try and fail off my own back than to have never tried at all.
HSCT, a form of stem cell treatment, is not available in the UK, as the NHS see it as experimental. In the last few weeks, Lee received a letter from Thornbury Hospital in Sheffield stating treatment would not be allowed to take place on home land. Professor Basil Sharrock said, Mr. Barber has secondary progressive multiple sclerosis with superimposed relapses. His condition seems to have deteriorated quite significantly over the last few months. I have advised Mr. Barber that stem cell transplantation is only effective in patients with relapsing remitting MS.
It is a lot to put up with, whether it is my fiancée or my father who's still here. They deal with that every day and they look after me. They do, and it's kind of like I have to do this treatment, not only for my own benefit, but for others too. This disease right now is eating away at my immune system. You get that fatigue, it kicks in as soon as you start doing something. It could be having a shower. It could be making a cup of tea. Anything that uses even the slightest amount of energy will reduce that energy in you that you've got left.
Whilst hoping to find a cure for MS, Lee plans to marry his girlfriend Louise in the near future, but he faces a race against time to raise funds to help achieve his goal. Alistair Hancock, Salford Now.
As we speak, Extinction Rebellion activists are at Media City, UK. They're protesting against the BBC, who they believe aren't providing enough climate change coverage. Political correspondent Rachel Burtwistle was at the scene of the protest earlier today.
Outside the BBC, a small group of Extinction Rebellion campaigners have gathered. They say the BBC aren't reporting accurately on climate change and that change is happening a lot quicker than we think. And some of the group were taking more drastic measures. One of the protesters has glued her hands to the railings outside Key House, and police and paramedics are on the scene. The police are keeping the protesters in one place, however, a group of performers have been moving around the area. With a new government coming into power, campaigners are hoping mounting pressure will inspire action. One thing that Extinction Rebellion are proving is that they're not going to stop until change happens.
Back to the election now. Salford Now reporters were at the count at the AJ Bell Stadium to see the Salford results come in. In the Salford and Eccles constituency, Rebecca Long-Bailey retained her seat and is now one of the favourites to replace Jeremy Corbyn as Labour leader. Ben Ibsen has a roundup of the night's events.
You may have tuned in to the Salford Now overnight coverage of the general election. We had reporters at the AJ Bell Stadium where votes were being counted.
And we are live outside the AJ Bell Stadium tonight, where we will be doing the counts of both Salford and Eccles, as well as Worsley and Eccles South.
When the results were finally declared, Labour's Rebecca Long-Bailey was returned for Salford and Eccles with a majority of 16,327. Our political correspondent Jack McKinnell caught up with her after Jeremy Corbyn's announcement to stand down as Labour leader.
Bittersweet in terms of the victory when you look at the national picture, when we have colleagues that have lost their seats tonight and the possibility of a Labour government looking very remote. So it's such a fantastic manifesto and it was so detailed. I think sometimes it can be a little bit overloading and perhaps, you know, we should have made an attempt to explain certain policies in more detail. We'll have to group as a party over the next few days, I think, and speak to Jeremy and the shadow cabinet and determine what the next steps are going to be, because if Jeremy's clearly said tonight that he's not going to stand in another general election, so we need to have a process in place within the party now to determine whether we have a leadership election or whatnot, but that's going to be a discussion that will certainly take place, I think, very, very soon.
Labour Party's Barbara Mary Keeley was also returned to the constituency of Worsley and Eccles South.
I hereby declare that Barbara Mary Keeley is elected as Member of Parliament for the Worsley and Eccles South Parliamentary Constituency.
Well, clearly this is not an easy night for Labour, for my party. I never take anything for granted. We fought this campaign as well as we could in the very difficult and challenging circumstances of a winter election.
He spoke to MPs and councillors throughout the night as the counters edged closer to a result.
That horrible reality sinks in that you're not going to win. You know, if we were in Germany and had, you know, the same sort of proportional representation system, you know, I probably would have been an MP already for the last 4 years.
It's disappointing that we're not going to be able to get that. One of the things I was looking forward to if we did have a hung parliament was the Lib Dems being able to press, not just for a Brexit referendum, but also for electoral reform. And we're not going to have any chance of doing that now. Again, if the exit poll is correct and we have a Conservative majority of 80 seats.
However, the interesting news is Worsley and Eccles South. Just behind me here, Barbara Keeley's seat, the Labour seat, could be up for grabs here. It looks like Arnie Saunders, the Conservative candidate, could be taking that.
Well, listen, it's about we have change, and I think Worsley and Eccles deserves that. You know, Arnie is a Conservative councillor. He's the first to win that area, and I feel that people in this particular area, Salford and Eccles and in Worsley, want to change, and this is speaking volumes. You know, one of the things that this area wanted was to be, and we have to respect people's decision, and we've had this election for that particular reason. Of course, other issues we need to deal with, but foremost, to get Brexit done.
So our hope is to increase our vote share from the last election, and we've done that nationally tonight from the news that I've been hearing. We've almost doubled our vote share nationally. Obviously it's difficult in a first past the post system, and I can understand why people are torn between the two main parties. That's why we're campaigning, you know, to reform our political system, because realistically now the Greens should have maybe 6 or 7 MPs, and after tonight that might be double that number. Unfortunately, the system we're in at the moment doesn't allow us, so all those votes are essentially, you know.
With the votes in and the results decided, we sent Chrissy Ford and Isabella Foster to find out the reaction in Salford.
About the result, I voted Labour, regardless of Jeremy Corbyn. or whatever the policies for Labour I'm a massive supporter of, so I'm really gutted about the Conservatives remaining in power, especially working class people. I'm scared what the next 5 years have in store for the UK.
Although Salford is still coloured red, they're now surrounded by a sea of blue, and the majority they once had here has significantly reduced. Ben Ibsen, Salford Now.
Now, Christmas can be an extremely difficult time for families who have been affected by the death of a baby. Stillbirths are very common and happen in around 1 in every 200 births in England.
Our reporter Anna Mason has spoken to Gemma Kelly about remembering her baby at Christmas time. We'd just like to warn that some people may find their images upsetting.
Lots of tree decorations with their name and pictures, and we take a little tree down to a grave. Desperate to buy girly things and girly toys and have pink wrapping paper and stuff. So I did the first year buy toys. So there is a lock of her hair in here.
This is a treasured memory for Mum Gemma, who sadly lost her baby girl only a few days before her due date.
So that's a little lock of her hair. She had really dark hair. Not for Penny. I kind of realised that I'd not felt a move as much. That's when alarm bells started to ring, really.
This was Gemma's third pregnancy and she knew something was wrong, so she decided to go to hospital.
It was late, so it was quiet, so we just went straight through, and they just listened in first with the monitor, and they couldn't find a heartbeat, so she said, I'll just get someone else to come in and check. Don't worry, and if they can't find it, we'll bring someone in to do a scan. And I just knew, as soon as she left that room, I knew something wasn't right, and they came back in straight with the scan. And so the doctor came and did a scan, and then they just said there's no heartbeat. These are her hands and footprints.
3 years on, Gemma now has a little girl called Penny, but she will never forget how she felt after losing her first daughter, Tilly.
And an ankle handprint that we did. She had quite big feet and hands. It's been hard, it's been tough, it's been a roller coaster. The first 12 months were the hardest. We just felt like we were surviving, literally surviving. What I found really hard was being on maternity and not having a baby, but I didn't feel like I could go back to work because I didn't think I could function well enough to go back to work, so that was quite hard.
Not only did Tilly's death affect Gemma and her husband, it also affected her 2 sons.
They were really good. They came to the hospital to see her once we had her, because I really wanted them to meet her. Not knowing really what a stillborn baby would look like, and she did look really blue and she did look like she died, and it was hard, but they were great, they were amazing. They came and they'd made memories and had pictures. So this was our family picture, and so when we had Penny, it was almost like a fear. I didn't want to replace it.
Gemma has made an Instagram account to share photos of Tilly. This has also helped towards her grieving process.
It's quite nice when people reach out, because you just want to help them as much as they probably just want to help you as well.
But it wasn't just positive messages that Gemma received. She has also experienced trolling.
It was hurtful at first, but they don't understand what we're going through, and it's for us to be able to share a picture of our dead baby is just as important as them sharing a picture of their alive baby.
With Christmas soon approaching, Gemma is looking forward to spending time with her family and keeping Tilly's memory alive.
If you've been affected by Anna's report, visit helpline@sans.org.uk. So, with Christmas less than 2 weeks away, it's important to look out for the elderly who have been spending it alone. Walkden Community Centre held a Christmas dinner to support those affected by dementia. A visitor enjoyed the event.
It's been a very good day, yes. We've had a lovely Christmas meal, lovely service, and the children came in from the school as well to sing carols, so it's been absolutely excellent.
Greater Manchester-based charity Early Essentials are providing care packages for vulnerable mothers with children aged from 0 to 3 months old this December. Since March this year, the organization has created more than 700 hampers. Ruth Day began work with the charity earlier this year and has introduced the scheme to Salford.
This is the gift, the giving from other people. People who have everything can give to people who have nothing. and it's just nice to know that in this country, even though we're one of the wealthiest in the world, we can still give to those who come here seeking protection.
Now, painting whilst having a gin of glass in your hand, what a combination. Pop-up painting came to Salford's Four Sisters Distillery to bring Christmas cheer whilst painting a Van Gogh-inspired canvas. Organisers spoke about the importance of events like these.
You know, we are all from Salford. We love our community and we want to kind of give back a little bit to the community, and we want to spread the word about, obviously, ourselves, but it's lovely to bring community together in a different environment, and who doesn't love having a gin and tonic rather than painting, really? It's a nice combination.
In other news, the Broughton House care home for ex-servicemen and women is currently undergoing a £15 million redevelopment.
The home will be the first veteran care village in the UK. Ella Beeston reports.
Broughton House is a care home for ex-servicemen and women, which is soon to transform into the UK's first veteran care village after a major redevelopment.
I think they're all excited to have new space, a lighter kind of environment, and then obviously the scope for younger vets as well to get involved. They love talking to anyone, telling the story, so it would be great for them.
Behind me is the start of a £15 million renovation to transform Broughton House into a state-of-the-art veteran care village. Broughton House opened its doors over 100 years ago and has since evolved into a dedicated charity and nursing home for war veterans. Many of its residents also perform civilian heroics, such as George Sims, who was happy to talk about his time as a firefighter but didn't want to appear on camera.
Well, two of us went up the ladder. We could only get into the room by going outside ladder, you know, with wheels on.
Yeah.
And two of us went up there and searched the room, and we eventually found one lady in there who was unconscious on the floor. So we couldn't walk her out, and we got two of us stood on top of the ladder while they had passed the two of us, and then two of us got us down the ladder. But she died too later. That's very sad, yeah.
After caring for people like George for over a century, Broughton House is desperate for some modernisation, but it is always important to remember its history.
So we established in 1916. We were one of 5 care homes that were built. We're the last one standing. So 103 years we've been giving care back to veterans. And the purpose obviously was to help people in World War I when they come back, look after them, make sure they're alright, and it kind of transformed into a care home rather than a hospital. And then yeah, we've been giving care ever since.
The village is set to finish in 2021 and will comply of an additional 32 bedrooms, a hairdresser's, cafe and sensory garden.
So the purpose of my role is to get communities obviously involved, so I've been in contact with local schools and businesses, so we want to do some partnerships. Obviously we want it to be a relationship rather than just monetary as well, so that's been really great. Everyone that I've spoken to so far has wanted to get involved.
Fundraisers have already raised £11.5 million, but require a further £3.5 million to complete the transition into their new home.
Scientists at the University of Salford have identified a new drug candidate that is able to starve and suffocate cancer stem cells, paving the way for new therapies to treat breast cancer patients. Lucy Webber has more.
Breast cancer kills 11,500 women and 80 men each year. Research has taken place at the University of Salford to find new drugs that can be used in new therapies to help treat breast cancer patients. Professor Michael Lasanti is hoping this breakthrough is a step closer to treating breast cancer.
We're focused on what are called cancer stem cells, and those are the cells that are responsible for tumor recurrence, metastasis, and drug resistance. So we're developing new ways to target those cells, to eradicate them, the cancer stem cells.
Breast cancer is one of the most common types of cancer in the UK. 1 in 7 women will be affected by this illness in their lifetime. I'm here at the University of Salford's Medical Translational Labs, where Professor Michael Lasanti carries out his cancer stem cell research.
So we gave doxycycline at the standard dose, which is 200 milligrams a day, and this study took place in the University of Pisa, but we were involved in writing the trial and getting it approved, and ultimately what we found in a small group of patients was that we could reduce the cancer stem cells anywhere between 17 and 70% with a near 90% response rate. So this is a first demonstration that doxycycline can actually reduce the cancer stem cell population in real patients.
So that was a
few weeks after my hair started to fall out, so I got my husband to shave. I thought I don't want to be coming in with wispy bits and furry bits on my hair. So
61-year-old Carol Stretton was diagnosed with breast cancer back in February earlier this year. She explains her illness has impacted her life immensely, as in her own words, "It's devastating and constantly on your mind, and it never quite goes away." Hearing the news about new drugs that could potentially help her illness gives her hope for herself and other women suffering with breast cancer.
first chemotherapy session, and that's the way they put it into intravenously.
Scientists at the university are currently undertaking drug screening to identify FDA-approved drugs that can be used to target and eradicate the cancer stem cells in order to prevent poor clinical outcome, such as the reoccurrence in the spread of cancer cells to other organs and surrounding tissues. Lucy Webber, Salford Now.
So let's see what's going on in the sporting world today. Anything exciting, Josh?
Well, it's never a dull day in Salford for sport, and we start off with bullfighting. Considered one of the most controversial sports, but one individual heavily involved in the dangerous spectacle wants to change it for the better. Owen Widdowson reports.
The art of bullfighting has been around since the ancient Roman times, with Spanish bullfighting festivals originating almost 300 years ago. But did you know that Britain's last bullfighter lives right here in Salford? Frank Evans has been a matador for nearly half a century, and at 77 years of age is still as passionate now as he was on his way to his first fight.
And he said to me at the time, I remember he got me in the taxi and he's on the way, they said, "Frank, are you sure at this stage you've not had any experience yet? Are you sure you want to go through with this?" And I said, "I'm more sure than anything in my life."
Many consider bullfighting to be one of the most inhumane sports in the world. Last year in Spain, over 7,000 bulls were killed at professional events, and it's still practiced in 9 countries across the globe. And it's not as though opposition has risen recently, as people have been campaigning against the brutality of the sport for nearly 500 years. But that doesn't necessarily mean the bullfighters themselves are pro-violence. Frank is actually trying to get the format of bullfighting events changed.
I'm not exactly a campaigner, but I'm on record on television interviews, on radio interviews. I've written about it. I would prefer if we didn't kill the bull in the ring. The thing is that when you kill the bull, it's with a sword, and it's sometimes very quick. You will find if you check out, I've got a reputation of being very good, excellent with the sword. I kill the bulls very quickly. But even a quick kill is not what we describe as being humane. And I'm one of those within the profession who believes we can't be doing today what we did 100 years ago. The world has changed, and it's changing more quickly now in many ways than it's ever done.
However, until serious amendments are made to the way bullfights are performed, Frank will continue to do what he loves the traditional way. Owen Widdowson, Salford Now.
Now, Broughton Rugby Club almost didn't exist last year as they barely had enough players to play fixtures. But a year on, they are back and better than ever, and have even received an accreditation by the English National Union. Renee McIntosh went down to the ground to see the revitalised club in action.
Sport brings people together, and this is clear at Broughton Rugby Club, as players train hard and are dedicated to prepare for their upcoming features. However, it wasn't always like this. Just a year ago, the club nearly folded, leaving its 150-year-old history hanging in the balance.
A year ago, we was lucky we turned up with 3 to 4 people a week. This was 2 sessions, Tuesday night, Thursday night. Sometimes we didn't have any sessions. So now we're lucky. We get 16 lads down like we have done tonight, and that's a bad session. So where we've come from and where we've gone to is nothing but miraculous, really.
The club offers opportunities to all abilities, and with the new accreditation from the Rugby Football Union, it has opened doors with funding and opportunities for all.
Welcoming everyone in. There's players here who've never caught rugby ball in their life, and you'll never feel more welcome in a rugby club.
It's clear the improvements to the rugby club haven't only helped the team, but the local community. I kind of want to get involved. Hopefully they need another player.
That's all for sport from us here at Salford Now. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas.
Thanks, Josh. Now, 4,150 children in the Northwest will be homeless this Christmas.
End Result Group, who help the homeless, have received a large number of food and clothing donations to help put a smile on people's faces. Andrew Brazavanu went to see just how generous the community has been.
Chris Ainsworth, along with the other co-founder Stephen Murr, set up the End Result Group charity 4 months ago. This was with the aim to help as many homeless people as possible around Greater Manchester.
Why do you think that your charity's become so popular and everybody knows about it so they want to donate? Because especially at this time of year, there's a lot of charities who ask for donations rather than look for places to donate.
Well, to be honest with you, I think we've just been lucky. I think because me and Stephen did a good 12 months of working in charity before we set up this group, we got to meet that person over there and that meet that person here. So when we did set up End Result Group, we already had the backing of all the other groups.
200 hygiene bags collected and passed on, and over 100 items of brand new clothing, from thick tracksuits to basic t-shirts, were given a new home in just one day.
It started off with 3 of us with 1 trolley and some flasks. We've got about 30 volunteers that go out at different stages. I mean, they don't all come out together. You know, we have a set number of people that go out. We have about 7-8 people that go out on a Saturday night and on a Sunday night. And if other people come, they come.
I was on the streets for about 16, 17 months, living in an abandoned building called the Adelphi Lads Club. I finally managed to get somewhere to stay. I originally got put into a shared house in Blakely. I now live in Salford in my own place. I go out with End Result Group every weekend. They're one of the groups that helped me a lot.
On this run, they've reached 5 planned locations, including Ortal Park Juniors Foundation and Walking with the Wounded. This homeless man saw the car parked outside a church, and Chris didn't hesitate to help him.
Well, it's going to keep me warm, it's going to keep me dry, and without this support, I'd have had nothing.
We're a community what can help each other, and not every parent can offer the kids what other people can, so it's really a big help, really.
Andrew Brazavanu, Salford Now.
A Christmas tree company in Sale who delivered real trees to families across Greater Manchester are encouraging people to be more sustainable this December.
Woodhays Trees aim to replant more trees than they cut down every year and hope that Salford residents recycle the trees in an effort to be more green. Bella Foster went to tree what was going on.
How beautiful is this? Real nature.
Each year, over 6 million trees are thrown out after Christmas. This creates over 9,000 tonnes of waste per year. Companies like Woodhays aim to replant those trees to replenish stocks for future years.
People can think the other way around, that they're cutting more down, but they're not. They plant more trees than ever before, which is good. You can buy budget trees, and we don't. Because we've been here so many years, people come back from far and wide, so they are real good, loyal customers. You know, so you have to buy good to sell good.
Throwing away artificial Christmas trees contributes to 250,000 tonnes of plastic waste after Christmas. Local residents were asked their opinions on fake trees and what they will be buying this year.
It's eco-friendly, you know what I mean? We're not... Bearing in mind, I used to work for a plastics company, but yeah, you're right. We don't like the idea of plastic trees adorning the living room by any means.
Well, I slightly differ with my wonderful husband. When we say plastic trees, I think when you buy a tree and you buy a good artificial tree, that tree will last you for probably maybe even 10, 15 years. So you're not actually buying a new plastic tree every year.
To make this Christmas more eco-friendly, real trees can be picked up by the council and recycled. Wendy Olsen believes that there are a few easy ways to make Christmas more sustainable.
To have a more sustainable Christmas, you can give fewer gifts and have less plastic tinsel in your house. You could eat less meat. You could have a meat-free day or even a whole week. You could even stop giving out Christmas cards because they're really not necessary. It's all about love. I have to admit that if you have a plastic tree, then I would say go ahead and use it until the very end of its life and don't buy any more.
That's just £30, please. Thank you very much. Okie dokie.
Buying a real tree is just one step towards being more environmentally friendly. Making your own gifts, decorations, or wrapping presents in brown paper and string will help save waste and ensure you have a green Christmas. Bella Foster, Salford Now.
That's smashing.
Make sure you head over to salfordnow.co.uk to stay up to date with all things Salford over the festive period. You can find us also on social media at Salford Now.
That's our last show of the year. Until next time, have a Merry Christmas
and a Happy New Year!
Thank you.